The chamber hummed with the low-frequency resonance of 1,000 voices, none of them human. The 𝗕𝗲 High Council convened in their orbital citadel, a monument to their dominion over the known galaxy. Holographic displays flicker with reports from 100 conquered systems, each one bending to their will. Another cycle of assessments, Speaker 𝗕𝗏 announced, mandibles clicking in disinterest. The lesser species remain compliant. A subordinate scrolled through the records, pausing at a system marked in faded glyphs. So, designation, human homeworld. Last contact attempt, failed. No further developments. 𝗕𝗏 dismissed it with a flick of his claw. Primitive. No warp capability. No standing fleet. They never left their atmosphere. They showed promise once. Another council mused. Promise does not equal power, 𝗕𝗏 countered. They are irrelevant. The record closed. The galaxy moved on. Beneath the notice of empires, Earth waited. A transmission tower, rusted from decades of disuse, creaked in the wind. Its receivers still listened, though no one had spoken to humanity in generations. Deep underground, in bunkers buried beneath cities and deserts, the last engineers of forgotten age worked. They think we're dead, Commander Hale muttered, watching the flicker of alien comm traffic on a cracked screen. Dr. Elias adjusted his glasses, fingers tracing over schematics not meant for human hands. They left their toys behind. We learned. The room shuddered as a generator flared to life. A prototype, built from scavenged 𝗕𝗏 wreckage, pulsed with unstable energy. The walls vibrated. Hale smirked. Let's remind them why that was a mistake. The first tremor was subtle, a blip on seismographs, dismissed as tectonic drift. Then another, stronger. In Geneva, a technician bolted upright as her screen flashed red. That's not natural. Across the planet, buried arrays activated. Energy signatures flared. Impossible readings, magnitudes beyond anything Earth should produce. Deep beneath the Pacific, something ancient and artificial stirred. A voice, unused in centuries, crackled across encrypted channels. Initiate Goliath. The ground shook. The galaxy wasn't ready. The energy surge rippled outward from Sol like a shock wave, distorting subspace channels and scrambling sensors across neighboring systems. On the bridge of the 𝗕𝗏 monitoring vessel 𝗕𝗏, alarm shrieked as the crew scrambled to interpret the data. Captain 𝗕𝗏𝘀's carapace darkened with unease. Report. Impossible energy readings from the third planet. The sensor officer hissed. Power levels exceeding a class. 12 singularity. 𝗕𝗏𝘀's claws dug into the command console. That's a dead world. Verify. The screen flickered, then displayed Earth, its atmosphere crackling with unnatural auroras. The oceans churned as vast metallic structures breached the surface, unfolding like dormant weapons awakening. By the first hive, the officer whispered, they've engineered their planet. On Earth, the sky burned with the light of 1,000 suns. Deep beneath the surface, the last remnants of humanity's defiance roared to life. Dr. Elias watched through reinforced glass as a Goliath core pulsed, its alien-derived technology now fully integrated with Earth's own systems. They abandoned us, left us to rot, but we listened. Commander Hale's voice echoed through the bunker's comms. All sectors report readiness. Defense grid online. A technician shouted over the din, 𝗕𝗏 scout vessel entering high orbit. Elias didn't flinch. Let them see. The 𝗕𝗏 hovered at the edge of Earth's gravity well, its crew paralyzed by disbelief. Captain, the planet's magnetic field is shifting, the science officer stammered. It's forming The ship lurched violently as an invisible force gripped its hull. Alerts blared as structural integrity failed. 𝗕𝗏𝘀 roared, evasive maneuvers. Too late. The gravity pulse hit like a hammer, crushing the 𝗕𝗏 into scrap before it could flee. The last transmission burst from the dying ship, a single panic warning. In the ruins of Forgotten City, a lone figure stood atop a shattered skyscraper, watching the sky. The air smelled of ozone and vengeance. A voice crackled in their earpiece. First strike successful. They'll send more. The figure smiled. Good. The galaxy would remember. The 𝗕𝗲 war fleet tore through the void, their sleek black hulls blotting out stars as they approached Sol. High Admiral 𝗕𝗲𝘀 seated in his command throne, mandibles twitching with barely restrained fury. The loss of the Crothies was an insult, an impossibility. "Scan the system again," he snarled. "I want every weapon locked onto that wretched planet before we reduce it to dust." His tactical officer hesitated. "Admiral, Earth's energy signature is fluctuating. It's not just defense systems, it's changing." 𝗕𝗲𝘀's claws flexed. "Explain." Before the officer could respond, the comms array erupted with a transmission, raw, unfiltered, and unmistakably human. *𝗕𝗲 fleet. This is your only warning. Turn back. *. The bridge fell silent. Then laughter echoed through the ranks. 𝗕𝗲𝘀 leaned forward. "You dare threaten us? You are ants." The transmission cut out. Earth answered instead. Beneath the ocean, tectonic plates groaned as colossal mechanisms realigned. The planet's crust moved, not with a slow grind of geology, but with terrifying precision. Dr. Elias watched the holographic display in the bunker, his face lit by the glow of the Goliath core. "They think this is about survival. They're wrong." Commander Hale's voice was steel. "Activate primary array." A technician hesitated. "Sir, we've never tested this at full power." "Do it." The order rippled through the network. Deep within Earth's mantle, something awoke. The 𝗕𝗲 fleet opened fire. Plasma lances streaked toward the blue-green world. Enough firepower to glass a continent. They never reached the surface. Earth's atmosphere rippled, bending the beams like light through water before scattering them harmlessly into space. 𝗕𝗲𝘀's carapace went cold. "What in the abyss?" Then the planet struck back. A beam of pure gravitational force lanced upward, shearing through the lead battleship like paper. Secondary explosions tore through the formation as the beam twisted, hunting, adapting. Panic transmissions flooded the 𝗕𝗲 fleet. "Shields failing." "It's targeting our engines." "We can't." The human voice returned, calm and final. *, you were warned. *, 𝗕𝗲𝘀 had just enough time to realize his mistake before the beam found his ship. On the surface, the ground trembled with the echoes of distant destruction. A child looked up from the ruins, pointing at the sky where alien ships burned like falling stars. "Mom, did we win?" The woman beside her watched the flames, her grip tightening on the rifle she no longer needed. "No, baby, we just started." The forgotten had become the unstoppable. Silence gripped the remains of the 𝗕𝗲 armada. Debris drifted where warships had been, their scorched hulls still crackling with residual energy. The few surviving vessels fled in disarray, their comms screaming with panic, their once unshakable certainty shattered. On Earth, the sky burned with the reflected light of distant explosions. Dr. Elias exhaled slowly as the Goliath core powered down, its systems humming with latent energy. "They'll regroup. They'll come back." Commander Hale didn't look away from the monitors. "Let them." A new signal flickered across the screens, not 𝗕𝗲, but fractured, hesitant. Dozens of frequencies, dozens of voices. "Human forces, this is the Rixen resistance." *, we hear you. The 𝗫𝗏𝗏 are rising. *, if you can strike the Dominion, we stand with you. Elias smiled. "They're not just running from us. They're rallying to us." Hale activated the broadcast array. The message tore through the galaxy like a storm. It wasn't a plea. It wasn't a negotiation. It was a declaration. *, this is Earth. To all species under 𝗕𝗲 rule, you are not alone. They thought us weak. They thought us broken. They were wrong. *, the transmission carried data. Specs, schematics, the secrets of turning a world into a weapon. *, we do not ask for your loyalty. We ask for your defiance. *, across 100 occupied systems, the message spread, and the galaxy listened. The 𝗕𝗲 High Council convened an emergency session, their chambers trembling not from weapons, but from fear. Speaker Vrock stared at the reports flooding in. Uprising, sabotage, entire sectors slipping from their grasp. "This is impossible," he hissed. A junior officer, trembling, dared to speak. The humans, they didn't just arm themselves. They armed everyone. Rock's claws clenched. Then burn their world. Burn it to ash. The officer hesitated. Sir, we can't. A hologram flared to life. Earth, surrounded by a makeshift armada of rebel ships, their weapons trained outward. And at the center, the planet itself, thrumming with power, waiting. In the ruins of what was once New York, a single figure stood beneath the fractured remains of a monument. The wind carried the scent of ozone and something else, something like hope. A voice crackled over the radio. Asterisk, they're falling back. Entire sectors are declaring independence. Asterisk, the figure tilted their head, watching as the first rebel ships blinked into orbit, their hulls scarred but unbroken. A laugh escaped them, raw, disbelieving. The child from the ruins tugged at their sleeve. What happens now? The figure looked down, then up at the sky. Now, they said, we remind them what happens when humanity remembers. The galaxy would never forget again. The 𝗕𝗲 Grand Nexus burned. Flames licked at the spires of their central command hub, the once impenetrable fortress now buckling under the weight of its own arrogance. Across 1,000 screens, the same image repeated. The insignia of Earth flashing beside a dozen liberated species markings, a coalition forged in fire. High Commander Vrock staggered through crumbling halls. His carapace cracked, his pride in tatters. How? He demanded of no one. How did they reach us here? A human transmission answered, echoing through the ruins of his empire. Asterisk, you made one mistake. Asterisk, the voice was calm, unhurried. Asterisk, you thought we'd come to you the way you came to us. Asterisk, Vrock's claws scraped against broken glass as he whirled toward the sound. The transmission continued. Asterisk, we didn't need ships. Asterisk, a tremor shook the complex. Asterisk, we didn't need armies. Asterisk, the walls groaned. Asterisk, we just needed you to look away long enough to forget one thing. Asterisk, the ceiling split open. Vrock looked up and saw the sky where it should not be. Earth's weapon wasn't a fleet. It was a bridge. On the other side of the galaxy, Dr. Elias watched the quantum link stabilize, the impossible tunnel between worlds holding firm. They never considered we'd move the planet itself, he murmured. Commander Hale barked a laugh. Turns out folding space is easier when you've got nothing left to lose. The ground beneath them thrummed, not with machinery, but with something deeper. Older, the child from the ruins pressed a hand to the soil. It's singing, she whispered. Above them, the fractured pieces of the 𝗕𝗲 homeworld burned in the sky. The last transmission from the Grand Nexus was brief. A single 𝗕𝗲 word, choked with realization. Asterisk, adapters. Asterisk, then silence. In the dark between stars, something shifted. Not a ship, not a weapon, a presence. The coalition held its breath. Earth pulsed once, a beacon, a warning, a promise. The message was clear. We are here. We are awake. And we are not alone. The child smiled. Somewhere, deep in the core of a weaponized world, something smiled back. The silence after victory was louder than the war. Across the liberated systems, the remnants of the 𝗕𝗲 dominion crumbled like rotten fruit. Their outposts fell without resistance, their fleets scattering like ash in solar winds. The galaxy held its breath, waiting, watching. Earth did not celebrate. Deep in the Goliath Corps' control chamber, Elias stared at the holographic star map. His reflection fractured across a dozen rebel sigils. This was never about revenge, he said. Hale crossed her arms. Then what was it about? The map shifted. A single point pulsed at the edge of known space, a dark sector untouched by war. Elias zoomed in. They weren't the first. The display resolved. Ruins. Ancient, colossal, not 𝗕𝗲. Hale's breath caught. What the hell is that? A voice crackled over the comm, one of the rebel captains. Asterisk, Earth Command, we're picking up something beyond the quarantine zone. Asterisk, static, then a signal. Not human, not 𝗕𝗲. Older. The child sat in the dirt, tracing patterns only she could see. The soil was warm here, humming. Her mother watched in the doorway, rifle slung across her back, eyes scanning the sky. "Mom." "Yeah, baby?" The child pressed her palm flat against the ground. "It's talking again." Her mother frowned. "What's it saying?" The earth trembled. Not a weapon, not a quake. A response. The rebel fleet gathered at the edge of the dark sector, their ships dwarfed by the wreckage floating there. A planet-sized husk, its surface scarred by weapon strikes millennia old. The science officer's voice trembled. Asterisk, this damage, it matches Goliath's energy signatures. Asterisk, silence. Then a light flickered in the ruins. One by one, others followed. Not stars. Eyes. Elias's hands hovered over the controls. We thought we were turning Earth into a weapon. Hale's grip on her sidearm tightened. And the core pulsed. The hologram changed. Blueprints. Schematics. Instructions. Elias exhaled. We were waking it up. The child's voice, small but certain, echoed through the chamber. "It says hello." The last 𝗕𝗲 survivor floated in his escape pod, drifting toward the dark sector's edge. His transmission was weak, broken. Asterisk, does anyone copy? This is asterisk. A shadow passed over the pod. Something vast. Something alive. The transmission cut off mid-scream. On Earth, the soil sang. The child laughed. Somewhere in the void between galaxies, something laughed back. The war was over. The lesson was just beginning. The singing stopped. Every monitor in the Goliath core chamber flatlined simultaneously. Rebel transmissions from the dark sector cut mid-sentence. Even Earth's perpetual hum of dormant weaponry fell silent. Elias's fingers froze above the controls. That's not possible. Hale already had her sidearm drawn, though what good would do against silence? She didn't know. Report. The child stood abruptly, dirt crumbling from her small hands. "They're coming." A proximity alert screamed to life. Not from perimeter sensors, but from the planet's own seismic grid. Something was moving beneath the crust. Not machinery. Not tectonics. Something alive. The ground trembled. Not the control vibration of Goliath systems. Something deeper. Wilder. Elias pulled up the core diagnostics. "We're not activating this." His voice cracked. "Something else is..." 3 light years away, the rebel fleet watched their scanners glitch as a derelict structure in the dark sector unfolded like a flower blooming in fast forward. Ancient alloys reassembled themselves. Dead power conduits flared gold. The science officer's hands shook as she adjusted the feed. "It's not a wreck. It's a coon." The thing that emerged bore no resemblance to 𝗕𝗲 architecture. No straight lines. No harsh angles. Just smooth, organic curves that hurt the eyes to follow. A single transmission burst from it. Not in any known language, but every species understood. Asterisk, the test is complete. Asterisk, then it moved. Not through space. Between it, the child screamed first. Not in fear. In recognition. Elias grabbed her shoulders. "What do you see?" Her pupils dilated until the irises disappeared. The teachers. The ones who made the 𝗕𝗲 strong. The ones who left when they got cruel. She blinked, and black veins spiderweb beneath her skin. "They're back to grade our homework." The ground split open beneath them. Not an earthquake. A mouth. Hale emptied her clip into the yawning darkness. The bullets vanished without echo. "Fuck. That." Elias dragged the child back as the floor dissolved into swirling fractal patterns. We turned Earth into a weapon. They turned weapons into planets. The chamber walls rippled like wet paper. Reality itself peeled back to reveal the void beneath and something moving in it. The child smiled with too many teeth. "You wanted to know if we were alone." The last monitor flared with a single line of text in perfect English. "Final assessment. Humanity." Then the lights went out. Across the galaxy, every species heard it. Not a sound, not a signal. The pure, crushing weight of something ancient turning its attention their way. On what was left of the 𝗕𝗲 homeworld, the last surviving noble clawed at his disintegrating skin and finally understood. They'd never been conquerors, just placeholders. The child's voice came from everywhere at once when she spoke again. Run,